right, I think we're good. All right, everybody, welcome to the July 23rd Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting. Do I have a motion on the minutes? All right, perfect. The next meeting will be September 17th at 4 o'clock here in the Anderson Room. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Right, we're going to add, so we'll maybe make that 8A is an update on the bus loop in Steveston. Okay, and then I think Mr. B is going to update us in the manager's report about bike bills. Oh. Okay, thank you, right. The agenda's moved and seconded. All those in favor? Perfect. And we have Councillor Heed on Zoom today. Okay, number one.
Madam Chair, if I could just add an agenda item.
Yeah, okay, sorry, Mr. Good.
It's with respect to May and Alexandra Road. And the General Manager of Public Works is aware of this particular one and he's been looking at it. Just a discussion with respect to complaints from the neighborhood.
Okay. Can we put that on the manager's report, Councillor Heed?
Yes, whatever suits you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Yeah, given that we've already voted on the agenda. Okay, great. We'll do that. We'll add it to the manager's report. Thank you very much. All right. Item one is the ICBC City of Richmond Road Improvement Program. I believe we have the thing going to be telling us more about this quite amazing program. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have nothing to add to the report, but happy to answer questions.
Okay. Yeah. Is there anybody have any questions? All right. Do I have a motion to accept them? Okay, and second, all those in favor? Oh, Councillor Wolf, sorry, I missed you there.
Thanks. Through you, Chair, my question to staff is on our page 21 under the proposed projects, attachment 1, it has $90,000 cost for installation of traffic video cameras, and then it has 3 locations and then other locations to be determined. First question perhaps is, are those traffic cameras or are those the public safety cameras with high definition and all that?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, those are just traffic cameras.
Okay, thanks. And then the other locations to be determined, is there a set number of other locations that factor into this 90,000 that we expect in that year?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, no, the 3 that we've identified are the ones that are on the list.
Gotcha, thanks so much.
All right, thank you. Right, all those in favor, those opposed? Okay. Item number 2 on the agenda is the Westminster Highway Traffic Calming 2025 update. I've been saying you're going to help us on this one as well.
Madam Chair, I have nothing to add, but happy to answer questions.
Okay, Councillor Wolf.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm familiar with the area and appreciate the further efforts to bring the speed down because as we can see in the table, updated speed study hasn't really been effective at getting especially the westbound down. So putting these traffic delineators in the middle of the road will hopefully do that at that S curve out in Hamilton. And then my question goes into our table number 2 on page 27. It has all the collision data for the Westminster Highway, Hamilton area intersections, and the one that very much stands out up high above the rest is the intersection of Westminster Highway and River Road. 29 collisions over the 4 or 5 year span here. So I wonder what the action, or is there still staff studying and will be coming back to us? Because I remember previous referrals related to traffic calming, including intersection potential at this exact location. So does staff have an update on that?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, there are more collisions at that intersection compared to the other intersections identified on Westminster Highway. However, staff have also completed a traffic signal warrant study. I know there has been requests in the past for a traffic signal, and we have completed a warrant study in recent times and concluded that based on the traffic volumes and the collision counts, that it's not warranted at this time. Through development, as traffic volumes increase, then we will continue to monitor that and bring forward recommendations.
Okay, so it's, just to clarify through the chair, so it's not warranted at this time and there's no additional referrals or anything that will come back. So I'd then like to ask that we look at the data for this year, 2025, to see if there's a substantial jump, because I know myself have seen additional accidents that wouldn't have been into this tally, which I think ended 2024. So if we could get back in a year, additional data on the collision data for Westminster Highway on all of these locations, especially River Road, within a year.
Mr. B, you're over here.
Madam Chair, through you to Councillor Wolf, just a couple of comments around this. Number one, we won't have the ICBC data for this year until probably 1 or 2 years down the road. So getting this year's will take some time. But the other piece is that ultimately in the plan in that area, that connection to River Road won't exist in the future. Like ultimately, it will be extended and join River Road. And the third thing is that we are planning for a traffic circle or traffic signal at Smith and Westminster, which is not very far away from there. And so you kind of choose one spot or the other under basically the Motor Vehicle Act rules. So generally, we've thought about having something at Smith and Westminster and less so at this location.
Through the chair, if I can just get clarification, when will we, like when does that come back to us, the decision on the light or the traffic circle for Smith Crescent?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, that'll come back through development. There's currently developers looking at these areas, and we're in discussions with them. So as a developer finalizes their plans and moves forward, that's when that will come forward through the planning process. Okay, then just final comment then. That doesn't sit well for me that we just wait until the Willett connection happens, because I think that's could potentially be a long way down the road with many collisions happening between now and then. I also think of the Smith Crescent. There's a rush when parents have dropped off kids and they're coming down Smith to get onto River Road. But other than that, you're not going to have such a substantial volume of vehicles like those that are coming off River Road to get onto Westminster Highway. So I would think that would be the more suitable location, although albeit the Director of Transportation said that intersection won't exist forever. But that there still is a lot of time, I think, that it could help save lives and vehicle collisions. So I won't be objecting this traffic calming update. We'll just have to find a more warranted way to bring that change. Thanks.
Mr. B, could you fill us in what the problem is at that corner? It's River and Westminster Highway.
Madam Chair, it's not a popular corner, that's for sure. But having said that, all accidents are bad and we don't want any, but this isn't an alarming number. It's for a year and we don't have any fatalities there. So it doesn't compare to a lot of other intersections within the city. So I wouldn't call it particularly bad. When we look at the top 20 intersections, we see like an order of magnitude more collisions at those intersections. So, while we could do something, certainly it's not the highest priority. Certainly the top 20 are. But, certainly if council would like us to do something there, we can certainly accommodate that. We can certainly do that for you.
Would that something look like potentially warning signs or traffic speed reduction signs, or what would that something look like?
Well, currently, what we're doing, like one of the concerns that came up a little while ago was the corner that comes down to there, and we're currently looking at putting a flashing light there. We've put up some more reflective things on the barrier to identify that, but we're working through that right now. It requires a design. We have to put something into the dike, and the inspector of dikes has to approve it. So there's a lot more process in it than you would think there would normally be, but that's one of the things we're doing in that area to reduce the number of accidents. One of the things I would prefer to see there is a traffic circle or something. We don't particularly have the space for it. And one of the real challenges we have is there's a driveway immediately across the way from there. But, we could certainly put up some signs or something like that. I don't know what that would look like, but we could certainly bring something back if you would like.
Okay, well, maybe you could look into that and update us at the next meeting then. Thank you very
Sure.
much. Councillor McNulty.
Just quickly, Chair. I don't know what others think, but when you have 71 accidents over a 4-year period and 5 involving cyclists, I think we got a problem. Yeah, especially when the speed limit is supposed to be 30 to 50 K. So I don't know how many of those were speed related, et cetera. Just to reaffirm, maybe Mr. B could answer, whoever, the traffic light going in at River Road and Westminster Highway, it has already been applied for now, and the process is there, and we're ready to go. I'd like it for the record, for the people of Hamilton who are waiting for this meeting to hear that that light is going to be coming in the very near future. So through you, the chair, to whoever can answer that.
Through the chair to Councillor McNulty. We're designing it right now. We're moving forward with that. And then we have to make an application to the inspector of dikes. And then that process takes however long it does. So we're moving forward with it. We're trying to get it done, but we don't control the inspector of dike process. But we're trying to get it done as quickly as we can.
We're moving forward.
We are.
All right, well, thank you very much for doing it and all those involved. My second comment, if I may, and I'm very encouraged to hear Smith and Westminster Highway with some side of traffic control, whether it be a circle or whatever, because as you know, coming in front of the child care, there, it's not 50, it's 70 and more. And then we're talking about trucks.
Yeah.
And so I think we've got it. I would request, again, a 4-way stop at Smith and Gilly in front of the school. I've had comments from even our own staff who are at the community center. They go through there. There's a new construction going on there. As you well know, there's an apartment, but there's no stop signs on either way, whether it be a 4-way stop or whatever. They go off to work and somebody comes on through. They're coming up Gilly. There's just no semblance, I guess, other than common sense when you get down the book, because you're going up a rise and then down, a bit of an incline. So just for the sake of the children and the other parents coming there, I think we should look at investing in 4 stop signs there, or 2 or whatever. I don't care which, but so that one direction has to stop.
Yeah, Madam, through the chair to Councillor McNulty, that's one spot that we have heard a number of concerns. And we did look at trying to find space for a traffic circle there. Unfortunately, with the way the development, the undeveloped properties that are adjacent in the ditch, it doesn't fit at this point in time, but we can certainly make that a 4-way stop if that helps things.
We have a good developer out there. Ask him to pay for it, because he's putting his trucks in there all the time. I mean, it's a massive construction zone, and the kids are walking to school, parents are driving. Get him involved too, because he's part of the problem. Thank you.
All right, we have Councillor Hobbs next.
Thanks, and through the chair, yeah, I'm not a member of the committee, so I don't vote, but I would encourage the committee to look at something for the corner or for the intersection right now, Westminster Highway and River Road. The stats might not bear it out, but we have to consider the volume of traffic there. It is a bit of a tricky road. River Road coming onto Westminster Highway is tricky. It's tricky because of the curve, a little bit of a curve in Westminster Highway. So visibility for traffic on River Road and on Westminster Highway can be impaired a little bit. And so there's long-term solutions and short-term solutions for it. And I think that the long-term solutions, the reconfiguration of the Dyke and River Road and Westminster Highway, well, that's one thing, and that obviously will solve that, but that's a long way down the road. So I would encourage the committee to look at something short-term, and whether that's a traffic circle or whether it's additional lighting on the Dyke somehow. But I think the intersection itself has to be made a little bit more safe in terms of really slowing traffic down on that curve. It's actually a little tricky even going essentially east or north on Westminster Highway at that point and making a left turn onto River Road, because River Road's hard to see. And so if you're not really familiar with the road, it takes people a little while to figure out, oh, that is River Road. And if you're looking at that too much and a car is coming at a higher rate of speed than is allowed by law, then that's where collisions can happen. So I realize the stats might not bear it out, but I think this is a bit of a unique intersection that I think we should have a short-term solution. Thank you.
We may need to look at a referral, but let's hear from everybody first. Councillor Liu?
Thank you, through the chair. Thank you for the work you've done on this. So if I just clarify, looking on PWT 26, the speed study results. So when you talk about 85th percentile of speeds on Westminster Highway, so essentially most of the people are driving below that speed. So there are people still speeding, and the people who are speeding have slowed down considerably from before the delineators were put in. Is that what you're saying in
Through
this?
the chair to Councillor Liu, yes, that's correct. And what we've noticed is that the really high speeds have gone down. So we see a lot less of the people going at like 120 kilometers per hour. We've seen a significant decrease in that.
Okay, yeah, it says after the installation of shoulder delineators, people going over 90 kilometers is reduced to 1% of total vehicles. So you're always going to have some yahoo doing something stupid, but by putting in these delineators, you have slowed them down a lot. So yeah, I'd love to see something more happen. I know when, I used to live over by Garden City and Saunders, and I kept being told that no, there were never any accidents, but the firefighters' heat map didn't agree with that. And when those things were put in the middle of the road to tell people to slow down, it actually did wake people up before they went screaming through the intersection and, got hit in the middle of Garden City. So sometimes adding these things, and we have seen them get vandalized because people don't like them because they don't want to be slowed down, but they work, and that's why they are vandalized, I think. So I think there is something that can possibly be done in the short term to help slow people down or to wake people up. And sometimes those in-road ones, and certainly I've seen the benefit of the one by my house at Kingfisher, and I've seen them in front of most of the elementary schools have been getting them recently, right? So we are seeing that they're working in the elementary school zones. People are appreciating them and they are slowing them down. So it might be something that we get, and maybe we put a camera on it to make sure nobody vandalizes it.
Okay, we have Councillor Heed on Zoom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to start out by saying I'm not going to support the staff recommendation here. I think we have a better recommendation in front of us, and that being option number 3. And I'm just going to delve into this a little more. First of all, we need that light at Westminster and River Road. I don't know why we have to have the inspector of Dykes tell us whether we can put a flashing light on our own city street. I find that, we're not adjusting the dike, we're not adjusting anything, we're putting a flashing light in that particular location. And I know we have the means within our public works to almost do this overnight. So I'm hoping that we expedite putting that light in right away. And Councillor McNulty, Councillor Wolf, Councillor Hobbs has certainly indicated that. And I got to tell you, when I look at the data in Hamilton, and I know for some reason we are ignoring, and it's my opinion, we are ignoring parts of Richmond, and one being the Hamilton area. We have an inordinate amount of people in that community, although it's small, complaining about what is going on Westminster Highway that's related to the particular speeds. And I take issue to the fact that, and I don't really necessarily believe this is correct, that we have to wait 1 to 2 years before we get accident data from ICBC. My previous career, we used to get that almost, some of it monthly, some of them within the year, working on what the statistics are. So I don't believe it's 1 or 2 years. If it is, we've got a significant problem that we have to go to ICBC and we need to address it. How are we to make these changes in order for us to have safer roads in our communities when in fact you're telling us we have to wait for a year or 2 years? And I know Councillor Wolf, who lives in that area, he probably receives more calls than I do with respect to that's going on, or from Councillor McNulty of what's going on in that area. I think option 3, the one that staff is not recommending, is the option we have to consider that's in front of us, because that is the option that increase the safety within that corridor. And yes, it costs a few more dollars, but remember, we're talking about preventing accidents from happening at the outset. We understand data, and we certainly a lot of us understand the data, but the data is only one part which is going to drive our changes and for us to make our decision. So we should be looking at the totality of this, the aggregate and the meta-analysis to determine what we're going to do. And I think that's a missing link here. And when you take into account the feelings within the community, the fact that we've got this situation here, whether it's at Westminster in River Road, or whether it's at Smith Crescent and Westminster Highway, we have to deal with it. And we can't ignore Hamilton any more than, in my opinion, we have, and we've got to address it. So I will not be in support of option number 2, but I'll certainly support option number 3 as a start, and that we're able to put that red flashing light in at Westminster and River Road forthwith.
So just to be clear, on page 29, option 2 is $37,500. Option 3 is $75,000. And the descriptions on that page. Mayor Brody, did you have some comments?
Yeah, very simply, I think we should start off with option 2, look at it, review it, see if it's enough, add to it if that's justified. So I'd like to move, firstly, the staff recommendation, and secondly, direction to staff to review the options for further traffic calming at the intersection of Westminster and River Road.
All right, do you have any comments on the revised motion? Councillor Wolf.
Yes, just I don't know if it's just a friendly amendment. So in addition to the intersection River Road and Westminster Highway, also the Smith Crescent and Gilly Road for the 4-way.
Further direction to staff, yes.
Yeah, and then also if the 2 directions could come back in time for the upcoming budget process to be able to be included into next year's budget.
Mr. B, do you have any comment on that timing?
Madam Chair, as far as putting in some stop signs at Smith and Gilly, we can do that tomorrow. That's not a problem. We're funded for that.
Okay, and Councillor Heed is online. I believe you have a couple of questions.
Yes, just a couple of comments here. We seem to be studying this to death. As long as I've been on council in this particular term, the problems in Hamilton related to traffic and speeds has been at the forefront. Now, if we want to study this even further and come back whenever, maybe some people that are running the next term, they'll have an opportunity to vote on it. So I'm certainly not going to look at that from my point of view. And Madam Chair, I would like to see whatever motion we're voting on up on the board in writing, so it's clear what we are actually voting on, whether it includes that light at Westminster and River Road, whether it includes what Councillor Wolf just identified with respect to that. So clearly I want to see a motion written up so I can understand what we are voting on.
Now, we've talked about that in the past. It's a lot easier to vote on something when you're 100% clear on what it is. I agree 100%. Okay, Mayor Brody, did you have
yeah, just a further comment on that. Based on what Mr. B said, I think we could leave Smith and Gilly off. I think it was Councillor Wolf wanted it on. He says we can do it tomorrow. So based on that, put it in the minutes. Let's just leave that out. Now, and so the direction is for staff to review the traffic calming options for Westminster Highway and River Road. Other than that, it's the recommendation that's on the agenda.
Mr. B, did you want to clarify anything?
No, Madam Chair, I do not. Like, we can certainly move forward, just put in a 4-way stop at Smith and Gilly. And we can certainly have a look at further traffic calming at River and Westminster.
So the direction is that there will be a stop sign at Smith Crescent and Gilly, and that the amendment to the motion is that we will review the traffic, and especially in Westminster Highway and River Road, potentially a flashing light. Is it okay with that, Secretary? Yeah. Yeah. No, I think we're, the motion that's on the floor is not option 3, it's option 2. And then there was a review of the Westminster Highway and River Road area. Go ahead, Councillor McNulty.
I started off by asking the question, is that light going in or not? You're not reviewing it, you're doing it, are you not? Come on,
Madam Chair.
folks, let's get it right. Like Councillor Heath said, we don't know what we're doing.
Madam Chair, apologies, there may have been some confusion
Yeah.
in what's being communicated. As you drive eastbound along River Road, there's that sharp right-hand turn that heads towards Westminster Highway. During the interim, we put on some chevron signs, which are the black and yellow signage, and we're in the process of installing an overhead orange flashing light that is simply in the bend. And because that bend is in our Dyke road allowance, we have to go through the Inspector Dyke approval process. That's going to take a bit of time. I now understand the motion to look at a overhead red flashing light at the actual intersection. So we can definitely come back to council as soon as possible at the next meeting.
Any other questions, anybody? Any other comments? Okay, the amended motion, it's been moved and seconded. Sorry.
Point of order, Madam Chair. I still would like to see what we are voting on. Maybe because I'm not there, I may have a different thought process in you. I have raised this issue before when we make these amendments to motions, and I'm not sure whether the stop signs, we just can't go by the seat of our pants, say, you know what, we're going to put a stop sign in. You know what, we're going to put a flashing light in. I want to see it in a motion so council votes on it, so we have a clear, or committee votes on it, we have a clear understanding what we're voting on and what's going to be done.
All right, and Councillor Mentality, did you have something to add? Just push a button?
I disagree.
Push a button?
I'm not on the committee, but on Monday night, I'm going to move another motion. I want the commitment that is going to be put in. No matter what, we're going to start the process. And that's what I heard actually even a fourth point of view over here as well. Are we or not going to be able to start the process and start applying to the ministry, whatever we got to do to put that light in? Yes or no? That's all I want.
With respect to the overhead flashing light at the corner, yes, that is proceeding immediately.
Thank you. I wanted that in a minute. And Mr. B, my request for stop signs, you said tomorrow. I will drive out there at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon to find out what the guys and gals are doing. And I have great faith in our workyard people to see that we will start that, digging the holes for that. And I'll bring my shovel along as well to help the people of Hamilton.
Through the chair to Councillor McNulty, I have notified our staff right now that I would like stop signs there tomorrow. So I'll be out there with my galoshes and join you with the shoveling.
Thank you very much. You know, Hamilton is such a kind of forgotten part of Richmond, and that with the childcare there and the new development, these issues have become more and more important. So I'm glad that we're taking corrective action. Okay, all those in favor? Those opposed? All right, that's passed with that.
Well, Madam Chair, you know, point of order again. I have yet to see what the motion is.
Well, okay, well, get the clerk to read it back, okay? It's all right. Can we put it on the screen?
Not yet.
Not yet. We don't have that. We're working on that technology.
Okay, the motion is that staff implement traffic calming measures as outlined in option 2 of the staff report titled Westminster Highway Traffic Calming 2025 Update dated July 7th, 2025 from the Director of Transportation, and that staff review options for further traffic calming at the intersection of Westminster Highway and River Road.
So as I understand it, we're just going to go with those other, the flashing orange light and the stop sign based on what decision? A decision by if it's a decision made by the General Manager of Public Works, which he has the authority to do that, I am fine with that, but I want to hear that.
Okay, Yeah, it's on the record. And have you, you're voting yes or no to this?
I will vote yes, providing that the proviso that the general manager of Public Works is making the commitment to do those two other options, not Mr. B, but the general manager of Public Works.
Mr. Zweig, could you be able to send out a memo and follow up on this after the meeting? Yeah,
Certainly, Madam Chair.
thank you. We like memos. Okay, item number 3 is the South Dyke Upgrades Preliminary Design, 6080 Dyke Road to Gilbert Road. And yeah, what do we have here? Mr. Sparrow then is going to update us on this. Are there anything you want to add to the report?
Nothing further to add, available for questions.
Okay, that sounds good. Mayor Brody, you have a question of the staff?
Well, it's not so much a question of staff. I think with this one, there should be just a few words to explain the overall, not process, but the overall design that is being suggested for this area, because there's a lot of interest in it.
Through the chair. Yeah, so this project generally involves raising the dike between Gilbert Road and Number 2 Road. The dike is generally going to be raised approximately 1.5 meters higher than existing elevation. There will be some transitions at the Gilbert end, as that area will be, Gilbert Road will be remaining at its existing elevation. And on the west end, where there's some recent development, we'll also be tying into the elevations at that end. There's a little bit of a section kind of around the bend, kind of around where the current washroom is. That section between the washroom building and the boat launch would be raised by approximately 0.8 of a meter. And as that transitions up to the full height of 1.5 meters.
And of course, diking is ever so important, being Richmond. So on May 2025, we made a decision to do 2 speed cushions installed on sort of either end. Has that slowed down traffic?
Madam Chair, I don't have the details on that, but perhaps our colleagues from transportation will be able to better respond to that.
Okay, do we have Mr. B or Mr. Zweig? Do you want to comment on that?
Madam Chair, could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, we had speed cushions installed, at either end of that area because we had problems with speed in the area. Have those been installed and have they made any difference?
Madam Chair, they have been installed. I haven't looked at the data yet to see if they've made a difference.
Maybe look into it and let us know. And Mayor Brody, did you have a comment?
Well, first of all, on the speed cushions, the speed bumps or whatever, living in the area, I can tell you that it does make a difference. Unfortunately, it's not one continuous speed bump. There's holes in the middle, and the motorcycles love those, and they don't decrease their speed at all. But the question is this: from Gilbert to basically the boat launch, it's going to be raised, right?
Correct.
And then the dike goes out to Shady Island.
So currently, this dike is the perimeter dike. In the future, through the Steveston Island project, that would be the future location. Currently, as planned to go out onto Steveston Island around the boat launch.
Well, the question is, if you're going to be jogging the dike out to Shady Island, why do you need to raise the dike, from the boat launch, just a couple hundred yards?
Maybe you could explain that. Seems to be some confusion there.
Through the chair. So yes, that section would also be raised similar to the elevation that is currently there through the current development. So it is fairly low right now, and that would be raised to an elevation approximately 4.1 meters, which would be kind of consistent with our kind of lower level that we would do behind the Steveston Island.
And it's, I believe the Steveston Island is a totally different project from this, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
But I didn't turn on the light. I turned it off, sorry. But if that's the future project, why do you have to go to the expense and whatever of changing things to the west of where you're going to eventually go to Steveston Island?
So Steveston Island, or to the chair, Steveston Island is a project that could possibly take decades.
Yeah.
This area is fairly low, and so there's an immediate need right now to protect this area and raise it to the.
And there's an environmental impact with Steveston Island. It goes through a very sensitive habitat area, so that is nowhere near the future right now, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Councillor Wolf.
Thank you. Just a couple questions. First off, appreciate the way the report's laid out, showing the design sections, A, B, C, on our page 40. My concern is with the C section, letter C. So that's visual for that is on page 42. So if you look at page 41 as well, where the fill and dike fill is going to go, the most substantial amount is going to be in section C, and it's the land side of the dike where you can see on the top of page 42 on the left, underneath where that car shape is. There's a lot of fill, a lot of dike fill, and it replaces the old dike or the old ditch, the water canal. So that is going to be a major hit to the habitat, the water flow, the wildlife uses of that open water, because it won't be there anymore. It will be in a culvert. My question is there consideration where, because there is farming directly north of this, that a retaining wall method be used? I remember when staff showed us the options, potential options for the north dike. There was, one of them was a super dike that had a retaining wall on to not fully impact the agricultural land and the drainage canals and stuff. Is that still a potential option for here? And if not, why not?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf. In terms of the drainage, yes, the ditch would be removed, but it would be replaced with a drainage pipe to convey the main conveyance of the drainage. We'll also, through the detailed design, look at the bottom of the slope, and we may install some perimeter drain or some smaller swales adjacent to the farmland. In terms of the compensation that would be lost through the ditch, through the detailed design, we'll be working with our qualified environmental professionals, and they will determine the appropriate compensation. Again, hopefully that can be managed on site, or it might have to be taken off site.
Thank you. Through the chair, just my other question here is in relation to all of the 50 to 100 trees that will be impacted in the project area. I understand raising a dike with trees in the dike adjacent to it, they're going to be removed. It's such a range, 50 to 100. Is there potential for some of the trees to be retained? Is that why there's such a range there?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, yes, through the detailed design, again, and depending on the actual dike alignment, we would look at the exact number of trees. We will do a proper tree study, determine the size, and again, which ones, again, our aim would be to try to save as many trees as possible, but that will be fleshed out through the detailed design.
Okay, then just a comment. I recall when River Road had major removal of trees, it shocked the neighborhood, got a lot of people quite upset. And I get it, the dike there is quite narrow, but in this section that the upgrades are going to occur, it's a much wider section. There's potential movement of the dike road, not to just be a straight line. So yeah, I look forward to the future designing process that can retain some of the trees as eagles nest in this area. Thanks.
So this is for a preliminary design, then it comes back after working with different government agencies for a more detailed design. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Councillor Liu, turn your mic on. There you go.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this. And just an additional piece of information. With the speed cushions that have been installed, I've heard from a number of cyclists that cars are swerving in to hit the middle one and actually sort of coming towards cyclists then who are coming towards them. And so it's creating more of a problem for cyclists. And it's not something you'd pick up like on your speed counters or anything else, but it's definitely impacting the cyclists. So I think we want to look at having a continuous cushion, not 3 separate cushions. I know we've done it differently for fire or whatever, but we're actually creating a more dangerous situation for the cyclists, which is part of the group that we are trying to make it safer for, and it's less.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Liu, certainly if you can get those cyclists in touch with us, because we have not received that information, so that's good information and adds to our ability to design things better for everyone. And we can certainly take that back to the fire department and see if there's anything else that we can do to make them feel better about implementation of something different.
All right, we look forward to that information. Councillor Hobbs.
Thanks, and through the chair. Thanks for the report. Just on the cyclists and speed cushions, I drive there quite a bit and just was riding there this week. And I do think it works pretty good. I mean, cars do swerve to try and, not swerve, but they try to avoid one aspect of the speed hump. That's true. But I find most of the time they're pretty cognizant of cyclists being around them. But maybe that's just me. I'm going pretty slow. So just with the dike itself, though, and the mayor asked a question about, why we're doing this section when we're thinking of using Steveston Island and incorporating that into the diking system and then connecting it to the main dike. And so, we have 49 kilometers of dike around the island. So why is it that we're doing this part at this time or in this time frame? Why wouldn't we allow us more time to assess that and work with our partners regarding Steveston Island and what that's going to look like? Because I understand why that's going to take longer, but maybe you could comment on that, because maybe not everybody does, and I don't mean around the table, but the public might not understand why it takes longer with Steveston Island. And so why are we doing this now, and why wouldn't we do that later after we know what actually is going to happen with Steveston Island?
Through the chair to Councillor Hobbs. So this area is fairly low in terms of the elevations around our perimeter dike, which had been identified through our dike master plans as an area of priority. With that, we would still need some level of transition. Again, the current raising of the dike would be at elevation 4.7, and we would need to taper that back to wherever the existing elevations would meet. So that might go back 10 or 20 or 30 meters to tie back to the existing. So there would be, regardless, there would be some works still in the area protected behind Steveston Island or the future Steveston Island, just as we need a slightly longer transition.
Okay, and the second question through the chair is, with the ditch that's on the interior of the dike, and Councillor Wolf brought this up, that's going to allow also for quite a bit of widening of the dike itself and the roadway. So there have been some concerns expressed about how that's going to not just elevate vehicles, but also going to widen the road and bring them essentially closer to the residents. So can you just comment on that? Have we looked at that, its impact on residents that are along that road, noise, possibly vibration, those kind of things? And how much closer will essentially the entire dike surface be to the residents that are along that section of the dike?
So through the chair to Councillor Hobbs. So that was feedback we received through our public engagements, and so through our refining the conceptual design, we're able to keep the edge of the road at the same location. So vehicle traffic will not be any closer than it is currently, but there will be some impacts to the ditch because of, again, we're doing some raising in that area. So the one bank that's closest to the river would need some alteration. So the ditch will remain, certainly through the residential areas. Might be a little bit narrower, might be a little bit different configuration, but the intent is to keep that for the most part.
Yeah, that's a piece of good news with regard to that. All right, okay, thank you.
Yeah, well, as representative for council on the Steveston Harbor Authority, I can tell you that Steveston Dike expansion Steveston Island potential dike is a very, very complex issue. And it's not anything that's happening anytime soon. And we know with the risk of flooding, doing this at this time does make logical sense. So do I have a mover for the motion? Second? All those in favor? All right, that's passed. Right, number 4 on the list, dog waste collection pilot summary and proposed expansion. Reading this report, I learned more about the sheer volume of dog waste than I ever thought I would know. So what would you like to add to this report?
Madam Chair, nothing to add, but happy to take any questions.
All right. Well, as I was reading the report, I was very surprised at the sheer volume. And the fines, like if there's any dog waste in over 5%, there's a $76 fine just for one infraction, and you've got to pay to clean it up. Wouldn't want that job. So this is basically a pilot project that costs $12,550, and yeah, I think it's a good idea to see if we can't get dog waste out of the landfill. All right, Councillor Wolf, you have a comment or question?
Thank you. Yes, through the chair, I've got I think 3 questions. First one, you didn't highlight anything related to contamination issues from the March 24th to March 25th. I wonder, were there some times where it was contaminated, and is there a contamination issue with people using the improper plastic bags to collect it and not the doggy bag?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, we didn't have any contamination when we ran this pilot. So the red bins with the specific signage is working for individuals. It is just dog waste going in. And with your comment in regards to the type of plastic bag being used, it does not need to be the green biodegradable plastic bags dedicated for dogs. It can just be a regular plastic bag. All of the waste is debagged by hand, and that is sent to landfill, and then the actual dog waste itself is sent through the wastewater treatment plant.
Great, thanks. My next question then, it seems like it's almost a perfect ratio here. If we go with option 2, it would cost $71,000 annually, and we would be expecting to divert 72,000 kilograms. So it's almost a $1 investment for 1 kilogram diversion. That's how I'm reading it. So I'm curious, option 3 then, which would go beyond what the pilot covers, so all city-owned dog off-leash areas, plus 14 additional identified parks and trails. This is not recommended. It's an alternate recommendation from staff. So I'm curious, if we were to do the investment of $165,000 annually, would we then, it says here that we would expect to get 135,000 kilograms. So we lose some of the ratio. Do you have any thoughts on why that would be?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, with the trails and other parks that are identified in option 3, they are much longer. So think of West Dyke, South Dyke, where there will be multiple containers in those areas. We did this calculation just based on average through the pilot of the amount of weight for each pilot location.
Great. And my last follow-up then through the chair. So it is highlighted as an alternate recommendation, saying that this is something we could add potential opportunity to expand it in the future. Is there any thoughts that it would cost more if we expand it later, or could it actually cost less? Like, do we do any thoughts on the timing of moving to that larger program or not?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, we would have to always go through the competitive bid process. Over the years, there have been more contractors coming onto the scene. So in 2024, there was only 1 known contractor in this space. There's now 3. So there is potential for the overall cost to go down, but I wouldn't be able to say for certain.
Okay. All right, so do I have a mover for the motion? Okay, second. I'll call the question. Okay. Yes, we just, yeah. Okay. Mayor Brody's on board with the dog waste collection pilot. All right, glad we covered that. All right, number 5 is the award of contract for provision of hydrovac services. It would be going to McRae Environmental Services for $9.2 million for a 3-year term. Do you guys have anything to add to the report?
Nothing to add at this point, Madam Chair. I'd like to introduce Hala Hassan. She's one of the newest members of our team in sanitary sewers. She's been full-time at the city since 2021, and she was recently awarded the position of project manager of sanitary sewers with us. So nothing to add, but we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Well, welcome to your new position. All right. So this got an 82.22% score, so higher than any of the other people who applied for this. So any question? Okay, call the question. Those second, all those in favor? Okay, we are good to go. Moving down the line to number 6, which is the Fraser River Freshnet and Flood Protection Update 2025, and we're receiving this report for information. Very interesting report, by the way. Is there anything to add to this report?
Nothing to add, Madam Chair. Happy to answer any questions.
All right. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, no. Move receipt, seconded. All those in favor? All those opposed? Good. We're good to go. Okay, number 7 on the chart here is 2025 Aging Utility and Road Infrastructure Planning Update. This report is also to be received from engineering for information. Do you have anything to add to the report?
Nothing to add, Madam Chair. Happy to answer questions.
This is amazing. On page 89, there's 3.3 million liters of water that through the leak detection has been saved, saving in Metro Vancouver water purchases $2.5 million. Those are staggering numbers. So the water meter program is clearly working in Richmond, and it'd be nice if every city in Metro Vancouver had the same program, so they could also save valuable water resources. All right, is there anything, questions? Seeing none, and okay, second, and all those in favor? Perfect. Oh, Councillor Liu, you'd like to make a comment?
Thank you, and I just wanted to thank you, Mr. Ho, for the work that you did with the provincial pilot program that you were involved with. I know that this was extra work on your plate, but something that you feel strongly about, getting all municipalities and all communities across BC to adopt water conservation through water metering. So I appreciate the work that you've done, and thank you again for the work that you did.
Thank you.
Well, it's nice to be the star in the community, isn't it? Thank you. Okay, so next is number 8, which is the award of contract 8428, supply and delivery of water meters, timely, given what we just approved. And that's $2.2 million excluding taxes, and it would go to Flow Systems Distributed. I'm not going to go into details, but that's what the motion is. Is there anything to add?
Madam Chair, there's nothing to add, and we're available for questions.
All right. Any questions from committee? It's moved. Is it seconded? All those in favor? All right, well done. Thank you. So 8A is the bus loop in Steveston, the ongoing saga. We've heard from the public once again asking for solutions to the situation in Steveston. We have a lot of buses sitting on side streets, and I asked Mr. B to just kind of update us on where we're at with that, given it is more of a TransLink project than a Richmond project.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Absolutely. Certainly, it's been a long road with the Steveston off-street bus exchange. Primary issue with it, as you're probably all aware, is lack of property for it. Certainly, even as Urgent had noted that maybe we could put it on the Gulf of Georgia Cannery site. That was one of the sites that was investigated by TransLink, and they got a firm no from the federal government and the operator. So, you know, there really isn't any property. That's one of the key concerns, right? Which is why we ended up with a, you know, maybe not quite as good a solution, but to move it a little bit, which would have shortened all the routes and things like that. But that, of course, had its own problems and didn't really work out. So right now, there's not a lot happening with trying to find that. If a property did come up for sale, we could certainly prompt TransLink to have a look at it. But one of the things I'd caution at this point in time is that Bill 47 kind of changes the game on this, right? If we build a off-street bus exchange in Steveston, within 800 meters of that exchange, we won't have a lot of ability to stop, high-rise residential towers. So that's one of the things we'd really have to think about as we move forward with that.
Yeah, unintended consequences, isn't it? I've often questioned why they have to be there. I mean, there's a major bus facility on Steveston Highway at Shell, major bus facility off of Saba Road, another one at the River Rock. Why do they have to park there?
Madam Chair, it's just it's the logistics of running a bus company. Like, I mean, there's certainly large facilities distributed throughout the area, and to run the system efficiently at all, they have to have places for bus layover and bus exchange, because bus drivers, just as an example, I mean, they're human beings, and they have to have a bio break on regular occasions. So I think it's difficult to not have something in that area and to operate buses throughout the city. So, we could have another go at trying to find another place to put it, but the last effort was a big effort, and from my perspective, that was kind of the best alternate location that we could find, and unless some property comes up for sale or something else changes, I don't know that something better can be accomplished. But certainly if council wanted us to have another look at it or try and beat the bushes again, we certainly can, but we've done an extensive body of work on this, and here's where we are.
Councillor Glanders, did you have a question?
I do. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. We asked to look at an alternative. The alternative that came back by Chatham and 7th and Gary was definitely not doable and not amenable to the Harbour Authority or the residents or anybody else. But that Gulf of Georgia Cannery parking lot, I mean, it's a bus loop already, and it is just so perfect in so many ways. And we did have a good meeting with Minister Baines about this, MP Baines, I should say, before the last election. I don't remember seeing the no. I guess it went to TransLink. I think I did hear about it, but I'm just wondering if it's worthwhile just forwarding Urjama's presentation to Mr. Baines and seeing if he can look at it again. Is that something that we can do?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Glanders, you know, what I would suggest if we'd like to, you know, push this further is, you know, potentially as a city, if you wanted, we could write a letter or council could write a letter to, you know, the federal government or the operator or both and, you know, ask them to reconsider.
And then just follow up. I think that's a good idea, but then with regards to the unintended consequences issue, what is the difference in classification between, you know, parking the buses on Chatham or having them go through this loop? Could we not have it be designated as just a off-road bus loop or something? I mean, is it just one or the other? It's just cut and dry?
Through the chair to Councillor Glanders, I'm having a hard time understanding what you're asking.
Well, I
me
mean,
to do
we
here.
have a bus exchange there. It's just that we're doing it on the road. So
Correct.
just because we do it in an existing bus loop off the road, that changes the status of it to automatically allow high-rise towers?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Glanders, that is the way I read Bill 47. It includes our SkyTrain network and any off-road bus exchanges.
Because it's an off-road.
Yeah.
Question, what if it wasn't purchased, the land, if it was leased? Does that change anything?
Madam Chair, I don't believe it would, because I don't think that the Bill 47 comments on the ownership of the bus exchange, just that it exists and that it's off the street.
Well, your homework should be to look into all these little glitches and see if there is something we can do. I mean, I'd be happy to make a motion to write a letter, but I think we need more information before we can do that.
Yeah.
So, all right, okay, and then under managers' reports. Yeah, we'll do that under managers, yep.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We were asked to provide an update on the intersection of Alexandra and May Drive.
Yeah.
So this intersection is just north of Alderbridge as you head westbound towards Walmart and the Canadian Canadian Brewhouse. There's currently a prohibited right-hand turn, so from Alexandra to May Drive. The implementation of the right-hand turn includes a splitter island, but based on some public complaints and some online social media communication, the implementation of it is not functioning properly. A lot of vehicles are ignoring the right-hand turn restriction and going straight or left. So staff are working on some options for consideration, and we're in communication with the residents, and we can certainly provide an update to Mayor and Council on possible next steps.
Okay, and we have Councillor Heed. I believe you have a question?
Yes, I have a question and a few comments with respect to this. This is a significant problem. The general manager and I attended the intersection, and even while we were there were violations. And I believe some of the future prospects for that area is to open that up as a more or less open roadway going east and west. So there are some options I know the general manager has come up with, and I appreciate those options. I have spoken to residents in the area with respect to the option, and the option that's most favorable, and I know the general manager is aware that I was going to talk about this, is option 1, the temporary material, to really encourage the people as required when they're driving west to make that right-hand turn versus avoiding the structure that's in place now, trying to encourage them to turn right. And I think that's part of the problem that we've got to address. So I would just like to, I don't know, Mr. Swag, whether you have the ability to bring that up, but I sense not, so council can see it, because I know there are other people on council that are receiving the complaints from the residents in this area. And as you can imagine, there's even increased residents that are utilizing that particular road, and they're frustrated because of the people trying to take shortcuts going down Alexander Road and speeding through and not using the system the way it's meant to be, and that is to make a right-hand turn once they do come to May Road. Any thoughts?
Certainly, Madam Chair. We can provide the information to all of council in advance of Monday's council meeting. 2 of the 3 options are implementable immediately. They have available funding. The third option, which is a more robust solution that requires curb and gutter and more works, will require a capital funding request as part of next year's budget process. We'll provide that information to council.
For next Monday meeting. Okay, perfect. Mayor Brody, you have something?
What options are you referring to?
Thank you, through the chair.
Patience.
Well, no, I mean, he talks about something coming to next Monday. I want to know what that is.
Certainly, through the chair to Mayor Brody. The first option is let's label as an interim
Just a minute,
solution.
let's start at the beginning.
Yep.
Where are these options? Yeah, where are they coming from? On what report or what memo or what?
Thank you, through the chair.
Options 1, 2, and 3.
These were options developed by staff
and given to us.
Not yet, through the
Well,
chair to Mayor
Okay,
Brody.
then don't we need you to bring the report to this committee so this committee can look at it through the chair?
Certainly, we can provide it at the next Public Works Committee.
Yeah.
Well, that does make sense. Give us a chance to read it as opposed to rushing it through. Councillor Heed, any other thoughts?
No, but the general manager has the ability to do this from, especially the option of temporary materials, from his authority as the general manager to increase the safety. And if the mayor wishes it to go through the bureaucracy of council versus what the best thing is doing, that's his prerogative. If he wants to do that through it, let it be. But I was probably, and I know Councillor McNulty was also the only ones that was replying to the neighborhood with respect to what is going on. So I was doing my job, and I want to, really have a shout out for Mr. Zweig. In there, we see a general manager going out, seeing the actual problem, talking to the people in the area and understanding it, and coming up with suitable solutions. So if you want to have it go through council and we want to delay it for a period of time, fine, that's the mayor's prerogative, and he can certainly call that.
Councillor Mayor Brody?
First of all, it's the prerogative of this committee. Secondly, I think we would all expect the GM to take whatever steps that he can take without it going through a big process. But thirdly, Councillor Heed should remember that comments need to be respectful. And I'm not trying to create bureaucracy. There have been options referred to that most of us haven't seen, read, heard, or understand. And they should come forward in the proper way. This is important, but it's not life and death just at this point.
Mr. Zweig, could you just clarify? You said
I just, point of order is, I wonder what part of that is disrespectful for the mayor. I said it's his prerogative if he wants to do it. So I don't understand my comments being disrespectful.
I'd just like to ask Mr. Zweig, so basically you said that you've been out to the site, you've come up with some ideas. Do they require a council resolution, or is this something you would do as a course of regular business?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As previously trying to explain, there's 2 options which are under my purview. There's a third option because of the capital expenditure would require council authorization. regardless of option or action taken, we would update all of council.
Okay, so you're going to update us, but if we don't go with option 3, which would require more capital funding, you could go ahead with the current budget to make improvements under the options that you discussed with Councillor Heed on site.
That's correct.
Okay, Councillor Galanders, I think, you're on.
It actually, you clarified it with that last question, because I didn't understand why it would need to come to council if it's just something that you would normally do as a role of a GM, just doing minor improvements to an intersection, so in this case. But if there's a capital expenditure on one of the options, then. But if there's something you feel is necessary to try in the meantime that's within your purview, you could just send a memo about what you're doing, probably, right? If it's not about the, yeah. Okay, that's just my thoughts. Thank you.
So let's move forward with this as normal business, and if there's something that requires council resolution, then bring it to the next Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting, and we'll look forward to seeing the improvements that we can see in that area. Perfect. And under managers' reports, one other thing, we had a really good conversation with Mr. B the other day about bike bells. It was brought to my attention by pedestrians that bikes go whizzing by and not everybody has a bike bell. So the question got brought up. I hadn't thought about it before, and you provided a very interesting memo. Could you share that with the rest of the committee, please?
Yeah, absolutely, Madam Chair. So at the end of the day, while the Motor Vehicle Act does require bells for things like e-scooters, they do not require them for bikes or e-bikes. Certainly, 2 municipalities locally have created their own bylaw around that, requiring them. Vancouver and Coquitlam have done that, and if council would like us to do that, we can certainly bring forward a bylaw to do such a thing.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant idea, because I have myself been walking down a trail and all of a sudden there's a bike right there, and like I have a bike bell and it sounds like a doorbell. When I ring it, people look around and go, oh, someone's there. Without that bell, I could scare them as I go by, so it makes logical sense. Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, thanks very much, through the chair. Would it be possible for staff to get copies of those bylaws and circulate it to all members of committee and council, I think, for information, and to think about if we have the information, what they've done, and possibly get any information from them of what works, what doesn't work. And then we could have a very thorough look at it.
Yeah, and then maybe
from our point of view, but we'd also have the information to make an informed decision.
Yeah. I just love it when a member of the public comes forward with a simple idea, something that we can actually implement. So how about, let's get the information, then we can decide whether action is warranted. Mayor Brody?
Yeah, just along those lines, my suggestion is we refer this to staff in a formal way. A referral to staff to look at the options for bells or other noise-making devices on bikes, e-bikes, scooters.
Okay.
And, or any other what?
Rolling mechanism.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, that's moved. Is that seconded? Okay, it's seconded. Okay, Councillor Liu, did you have a comment or question?
Well, you know, it could be a great idea for people who ride road bikes. You know they're not going to put it on, but those are the same people that will call out and say, on your left, on your right. Like, there's more than one way to let people know you're coming. If you're passing someone running fast coming on a trail, sometimes you say something, especially if they have a dog, you might mention something. So, you know, we can go down the road and get all crazy here, or people can just start using some common sense and call out to people and say, hey, passing on your left. Like, I don't know, you ski, you do the same thing, right? Like, we try to be respectful of other people. Everybody doesn't need to be ringing bells all over the place and walking and dinging and carrying on. And, you know, you can let people know, you can be respectful. People might be startled even by the bell. So, like, you know, there's lots of people walking around with headphones on and everything else. We're not also going to pass a no headphone rule and this and that. And, you know, like, I think sometimes we get a little carried away with some of this stuff. So
Well, education is a strong tool, and getting the referral motion passed and having that information come forward with options. And I think is it Coquitlam and Vancouver that have this policy already?
Yes, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. So is there any other comments or questions? All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, it's only Councillor Liu that's opposed to it. Okay, and I think that's it. Anything else I'm missing? Okay, the meeting is adjourned. So next we have the Parks and Rec Committee meeting, and I will vacate.
Hey, don't beat up on the start.
Yes. Hello all, I would like to call the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Services meeting for today, July 23rd, 2025, to order. Before we carry on with business, it's in my opinion, I'd like to start these meetings in a good way and take the moment to acknowledge that we're gathered on traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Hunkaminam speaking peoples. We respect the enduring relationship between these communities and the land, and we honor their histories, cultures, and contributions, especially with all of the parks, recreation, and cultural services that the city embarks on. So thank you very much. Now I'd like to bring a motion to adopt the minutes from June 24th. Thank you. All those in favor? I'd like to acknowledge that the next committee meeting is scheduled for September 17th at 4 o'clock in this room here. We're starting off today with a delegation. So we'd like to call forward former councillor Linda Barnes, and anyone she'd like to bring with her from the Steveston Historical Society. They've submitted a report to us earlier today, and they have their 5 minutes, so please introduce yourselves and take the time you need to get the enhanced operations plan and funding request to us.
Thank you. My name is Linda Barnes. I'm the co-chair of the Steveston Historical Society, and with me is my co-chair.
Joanne Terragucci, co-chair with Linda Barnes.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I just would like to start with an apology to council members for our lateness in having this brought forward, and I know I didn't send the report until early, so anyway, I would like to take a moment and just go through it. As you have it on your table there, we're here to let you know the work that we do and the work that we would like to do in partnership with City Council. Currently, as you probably are aware, we operate the post office in Steveston as well as the museum. And the things that we do currently, as I said, besides the post office are our pop-up artists. Recently, we have introduced On This Spot, which is an app that you can do a walking tour and see historic photos, etc. I encourage you to look at it. The Nikai Stories is a long-standing documentary series that was done quite some time ago. And currently we do the Steveston Alive walking tours, and you're all invited to come on this Saturday as well if you can, or in August for our walking tours. We do a website and bi-yearly newsletter. We also do vintage fair. If you want curios and collectibles, please come to our little park. Most of you have been to Songs in the Snow in the wintertime, and thanks to City Council and staff, we did our strategic plan a couple of years ago. It's on our website, but I do have copies with me today if anybody would like one. Potentially, what we would like to do, as the city has put more monies into the site, about 2 years ago, the city staff worked with us to redo all the flooring in both the upstairs and the downstairs. It was quite the term and was a considerable amount of money. They're already looking at the current upgrade of the exhibits within both the museum and the Japanese building there as well. So as a significant contribution from the city, we would also like to do more. So potential for growth and community benefits that we have seen is our strategic plan expansion and staffing. It calls for numerous things that we would like to do over the next 5 to 10 years. We've been unable to do a whole lot, to be honest, because of capacity. And so we would like to correct that. Program development, we would see doing educational programs as well as tours within the museum as the new exhibits come on site. We would also like to meet future planning and community needs. We would see a retail shop being in there, including the local artists that we have there already. And we are committed to not being satisfied with the status quo. We wish to partner with the city to ensure the new exhibits receive maximum exposure. Collaborating with city staff to further enhance this existing business plan, including the strategic plan, remains a key priority for advancing these initiatives. The support for our asking of funding, as it states, is the planned initiatives at the Post Office Museum are expected to generate 1 to 3 new full-time positions over the next few years. This growth will contribute to the local economy by increasing consumer spending, enhance productivity, and helping to reduce the wage-to-rent gap in the community. The pop-up artist show has already proven successful, and we would like to continue that, as I said, with our retail. The expansion will also generate ongoing revenue to support the Society's mission, ensuring the museum's continued relevance and the vitality in Steveston's cultural and economic landscape. In conclusion, we're dedicated to preserving and sharing the rich cultural heritage of Steveston. With the city's support, we can enhance our programs, engage more community members, and contribute to the cultural and economic vitality. As per internal documents, currently the City of Richmond makes up about 13% of our annual revenue, whereas the average is actually 39%. So we are proposing a 3-year pilot project in partnership with city staff to enhance programming at the Steveston Museum. To support this initiative, we are requesting an increase in our annual operating funding from the current $40,000 to $100,000 for 3 years, which would represent an additional $60,000 annually. So this would require a one-time additional funding level request of $180,000 to be included in the 2026 budget process. We would then present an annual report to city staff at the end of each year, outlining the impacts of the increased funding and programming, community engagement, and financial growth. And I have to acknowledge both City Council and city staff for their ongoing support of the Society. We've had ups and downs, particularly with, as you know, with COVID, things like Tourism Richmond leaving us, doing our own staffing. So city staff has been very supportive, and I would like to acknowledge that, as well as the City Council. So in the appendix, we have in here some of our things that we have supporting us. We have our visions. We have some reports on staff costs, enhanced programs and events, etc. We have had a report done. I didn't include it in your package. I know how much reading you've got, but it's available if anybody would like to see it. Thank you.
Great, I appreciate that. And before we go to questions from around the table, which are a few, I just wanted to clarify, Mr. Argucci, did you have anything we want to add that wasn't said already? You've come up to the table? Okay, just want to check that. Okay, I appreciate that, thanks. So we'll go to Mayor Brody.
Yeah, thanks to the delegation. Interesting proposal. I think basically we should simply refer it to staff and get their comments on it, have them do the analysis and bring it back at budget time or before. So can I move that?
I think we'll go through the discussion round
Okay.
first. On to Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, well, thanks very much, and thank you for the proposal. I'd like to see a copy of the plan. I think you're remiss by not providing it to us. You said you had a plan?
We do.
Written up. I think we'd like to have the copy of that report, if I may. No, I'm actually quite excited to see this in front of us, but I have some pretty loaded questions because your bread and butter is historical. It's not artistic. In my opinion, just to pass it on, the artistic should be, we should have an art studio over at Britannia at the Net Loft. That should be converted into total arts. Anyhow, that's the personal opinion. I want to focus in on the post office. You got $121,000 in wages. And by the way, our people in the post office are gems. They've got the best employees going, the people that are in the Steveston post office. And I hope everybody
I'll take those comments back.
supports the Steveston post office. As you know, we had a lot of competition for the Superstore and also the drugstores in the surrounding area. On that, do you have any reports of the future of the post office down the road, given, God bless the postal workers that are here and the stuff that's going on federally right now with the postal issues. In terms of its longevity, are we basically, intake, outtake, are we breaking even there?
Through to Councillor McNulty, currently we're not quite breaking even, but all the stats are pointing in the right way. Since since the demise of Super Grocer, which we're all sorry to see go, but
Yeah.
it was a benefit to, quite frankly, to the post office. We are now the only one in Steveston, so that has made a difference for us for sure. So currently, not quite, but we're on the right path.
Okay, and you said something with Tourism Richmond through the chair. I believe the post office and museum is under-recognized, undervalued, and underappreciated, to be quite frank with you. Is Tourism Richmond not with you anymore?
Currently, as you know, they used to operate the post office and have a presence within the building. That changed during COVID. They pulled out of operating a post office as well as having an on-site presence. They no longer feel that having a physical presence in any place in Steveston or Richmond is in their best interests. So
Really?
the answer is no. I mean, they have been extremely helpful. We have applied and received grants from them for various things that we do, but a physical presence, no.
Given we passed we accepted and received for information their plan the other day, and Steveston is a destination point, they need us on it. I'd like to, Your Worship, I'm going to staff, but I'd also like to see the details in terms of what you're going to actually do. We have 17 historical sites down there. They need to be promoted. People go to the post office for information. The post offices generally are gathering places anyhow, where if you're in a small community, that's where all the business takes place, and the cards are posted on the wall, and everybody, communication takes place. And I appreciate us, and I think we should send this to staff. But I also think in a bigger picture, in terms of preserving Steveston. We talk, Steveston is historical. If you don't invest in history, you're not going to have a Steveston. Last night, what did we do? We lost the Steveston Hotel. Okay, it's going to have to be apartments, etc. I'm sorry, I'm not on a political venture. I lived here 55 years. I'm a pioneer. I qualify. Okay, and we're losing, and we've got to look at investing it. And the bread and butter of the Historical Society, and I was here in 1976 when 34 members signed up to create the society and to preserve the integrity of the history of Steveston. So I think that it would be a worthwhile investment, but I'd like to see the plan. But more importantly, I'd like to see what we could do and how we could move forward and incorporate, and to be quite frank, we use the Historical Society to continue to promote Steveston as a destination point. Because other than for fish and chips down there and on the culinary unit, people don't talk about the 17 buildings that have massive history. So anyhow, I'm going to support the mayor's motion on that. Thank you for coming. Behind you 1,000% on what you're doing. We're hoping to see that report to help digest in the future.
And through to Councillor McNulty, I'd just like to acknowledge board members here as well. We have several board members that were able to attend and stick through Public Works Committee. Most of them live in Steveston, so it was a very interesting Public Works Committee meeting, particularly with the diking and so teasing.
We improved the roads in Steveston too.
Exactly.
Remember that.
Okay, we'll carry to Councillor Hobbs.
Thank you, and through the chair, thanks for the report and for delegating. I will support a referral, and I will be interested in seeing the more detailed report too, to give us some additional background. Yeah, the museum is a real hub in Steveston, so it's a very worthwhile cause, as Councillor McNulty has just explained. I would like you to take just a minute, though, if you could describe kind of from a high level what success ultimately looks like and what the sustainability plan would be, if the pilot goes ahead in terms of, metrics. I know you've outlined a few generally in the report, what the goals are, what the metrics are. I think, from my point of view, I'd like to know if one of the most important metrics obviously would be revenue generated, people coming through, that kind of thing. But I think programming for different things, for children, for artists, for historical aspects. I think programming generally is a real good revenue generator, and it also enhances the whole viability of the historical scene in Steveston. So could you just take a minute to describe what success looks like and what your metrics would be in measuring that and how it would impact sustainability of the investment?
Certainly. Thanks, Councillor Hobbs. One of the things that, as I said, we would like to do is have a retail outlet, but it's more than that, it's a museum store. So I want to concur with Councillor McNulty's comments about we're not going to just put anything out there. It has to be a museum store. So certainly financial would be one of the things that we would look to. But currently, we're not collecting the data that we need to. So that would be something else that we want to do is collect that data to kind of prove what we're doing and to increase our numbers. We do a pretty good job with things like Songs in the Snow and Vintage Fair, but we can't do a whole lot for some of the other programs that we do. So collecting data and increasing that data over those 3 years to say, you know, we had, 1,000 people at Songs in the Snow this year. Next year we want to have more, those kinds of things. But also certainly with the additional staffing that we would really like to have on board, more of a collaboration between the other historic sites in Steveston. Currently, we're doing that, but to be honest, off the side of my desk. And so we would really like to work much closer with the groups such as London Farms, all the city sites, but also with the Gulf of Georgia. They do, in my view, a remarkable job, and so I think we've got a lot to learn and share. So working closer collaboratively with the historic sites is another thing. Also marketing has been discussed. Tourism is a big draw in Steveston, and we're currently not hitting where we need to, and we need to work better as a society, along with Tourism Richmond, to do that. So increasing visitors to Steveston is definitely something that we're looking to do. Educational programs is definitely high on our agenda, and creating the programming to do that is something that we would like to do. And without staffing, we just do not have the capacity. So that would be something else. Currently, educational programs both for young people, kids, but also for seniors, people who are wanting to know more about our history. Tours of Steveston for not only tourists, but tourists in your own hometown. If I could just ask a preliminary poll, how many have been into the Japanese Benevolent Society building? Oh, good. Well, not quite everybody, but yeah. It's amazing the number of people who have not had a moment to check. They live in the area. So we definitely want to raise the level of attendance within that building, particularly when the city brings in the new exhibits. That might be a year or two down the line, but that's where we would like to really make the big difference in there as well. Been talked about a hub, and absolutely. Not only for people to come in and meet each other, it was like Old Home Week the other day. We had numerous people in there that all knew each other. So it's a gathering place for sure, but it's also a place for people to come who are in Steveston and they want to find out. We act as a tourist destination anyway, so our staff are trained. They don't currently have a lot of time because they're postal staff, but we would like to have the opportunity to direct people more into the other sites as well as what Steveston has to offer. So we have lots of plans, Councillor Hobbs, and we would like to have the opportunity to do those and kind of strut our stuff.
Sure, and just a wrap-up comment through the chair if I can. Yeah, that was very complete. Thanks for that. And one that I'll just pick out that we've been trying to work on for a long time is how to kind of rising tide floats all boats. So all the historic societies and historic sites in Steveston, how to get those better coordinated and, you know, increase the success for all of them. I'm glad that that's part of the agenda. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Go to Councillor Glanders.
Thank you through the chair. Thank you for the delegation. And I just want to thank you and your co-chair and the whole board for being such an active, productive and go-getter board, you know, and I totally supportive of referring this to staff, obviously, and I hope that we will support an increase in a pilot, because if there's any board that's going to get it done and increase the economic benefits and what we're doing, it's you guys. I just have a question. On the last page of the appendix there, and you might not know the answer because I don't know, these aren't your numbers, but there's the municipal revenue earned, so that's the money that the city contributes, so we can see our 40,000 there. And then there's other revenue earned, and our number's quite high in relation to the number from the municipal, but then there's this other revenue number, and our number's really low, and like, look at Shawnigan Lake Museum. So their earned revenue is really low, and their other revenue is really high. What's the difference between earned revenue and other revenue?
Earned revenue, for an example, for us would be in the post office, would be earned. Other would be grants, sponsors, donors, that kind of thing.
Oh, who's giving Shawnigan Lake Museum almost $1 million?
I don't know, but I'd like to be on their list.
And then just a follow-up, with regards to the expanding the retail opportunities and showcasing the local artists, if this goes through and you're going to be expanding that, are you going to be talking to Musqueam artists and seeing if there's opportunities to get some First Nations exhibits in there?
Absolutely.
We've tried.
Yeah.
We have approached them, but they haven't responded.
Yeah, well, I had a conversation with Mary Point at the Canada Day, and it's, you know, it's difficult because it's just not all set up, but definitely they are interested in opportunities, and we're talking about Britannia sites as some possible sites for one, because we don't have a First Nations gallery anywhere. So, you know, if they can participate and you're interested, then that would be great.
Absolutely. We have made, as my co-chair indicated, we certainly have extended, but again, it's a little hit and miss, to be quite frank.
Yeah.
So with more staffing and a little bit more, that we'd definitely be interested.
Great, thank you.
Send them our way.
Thank you. And now we'll go to Councillor Al.
Once again, thank you for the presentation, and I'm definitely in support of making a referral to staff, but also I want to see more of the details of the plan and things that you can do in the future. And I agree with what you've said earlier, that to me, the museum is not a building, it's a point of connection. So it connects the past to the present, connect the people, you know, in the past, and again, the newcomers, right? So I think it serves a very important purpose in building up this sense of belonging in our community. And wherever I go, you know, I would go to a library, a library and a museum, you know, and then I can spread out from these two places, the library and the museum, and then come to understand this, any town and cities more. And I want to ask you one question. So have you developed new connections and partnership with the First Nations over the years?
No. Sorry, through to Councillor Au. No, we have not established anything on an ongoing basis. As I indicated, or as Joanne indicated, we have put some forays out there, but they haven't really been too fruitful as yet.
Okay, good. I just want to check. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. And over to Councillor Day.
Thank you very much. I don't sit on the committee, so I can't vote, but when this comes to council, I will certainly be supporting it. I'm a huge fan of collaboration and working together because, to be honest, the societies get a better bang for their buck than we do as a city because we've got to pay for medical, dental, and cars, and this seems like a bargain to me. So basically $60,000 over 3 years, $180,000. But as I look on your chart, the enhanced programs and events, it states that, for instance, in week-long summer camps, you anticipate making $13,500, and weekly after-school pop-up programs, $18,000, and the total in the end is close to, well, it's $49,000. So if we give you the $60,000 and you get the ball rolling, is it not possible that down the road you might not require those funds?
Oh, through the chair to Councillor Day. Anything is possible. what the society would anticipate doing is, with more funding, there would be more programs, more collaboration. We would turn back any revenue into the site.
Yeah.
So no promises.
Okay. But the reality is that the more programming we have, the less we have to do in the community centers or the arts center or the cultural center. So, I mean, it's going to enhance what we're already doing in a space that it really is underutilized at this point. And why have this very valuable asset if we're not going to use it?
But we also need the staff to implement it.
Yep, yep, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Great report.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just before I go to Mayor Brody for his referral motion, the question that remains for me is, could you just highlight what is next year as a significant milestone anniversary for the society? And does having a referral, knowing the process, as you know, will that be okay with the timing of when you're planning to do big milestone anniversary events and such?
Thank you for the question. We will celebrate our 50th no matter what. You will all be invited. It's obviously, it's a big milestone. So it depends on the scale. We would also like being obviously inviting the public. So again, it just depends on how we do financially, to be quite frank. And we will apply for grants, obviously, as well.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Look
Thank you.
forward to the invitation.
Great, and thanks for all the contributions around the table. We'll go to Mayor Brody.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to refer this to staff to review the report, to obtain the further document plan, and to present options and analysis by the time we bring in the budget for 2026 at the latest.
And seconded. Any further discussion? Clarifications needed? Anything from staff to clarify? Okay, looks good. So we'll vote on that. All those in favor of the referral? Those opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you to the delegates for spending the time and those society members who have stayed through all of this so far. More to come if you're interested. All right, second item on the agenda is the railway greenway solar lighting options. So if we could have some staff come forward, and you have anything you'd like to add to your report?
Nothing further to add, Mr. Chair. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, great. We do already have some questions around the table, so we'll start with Councillor Glanders.
Okay, I do have a question, I guess. More comments, but I am supportive of the phasing in option. I think that's really sensible. I think that we are kind of breaking the mold here and introducing an all-solar option, and I'm really happy that you came back saying that it's possible, that it's more affordable, and that it could be really great. But we're going to phase it in. I think I'm very supportive of doing it in areas 1 and 2 first, because obviously area 1 needs it the most. 2 and 3 also need it. So I was wondering about the option of doing 1, 2, and 3 in the first phase, and just, is that possible or what? Or would you have, how do you consider that?
Through the chair to Councillor Glanders, the way we'd laid out the phasing strategically was based on a few different things, but first and foremost, sort of a measured, cautious approach where we were both addressing the area determined to have the highest priority for lighting along McAllen with the furthest distance from existing light sources, and then also quite a small area that is known to be affected by existing vegetation that would serve as a really strong trial and measure of success. So that was sort of the rationale for laying out the phasing as we did. We could certainly
rejig different phasing options depending on direction from council.
Yeah, I don't think it's urgent to change it unless other people think it is, but that does make sense to me. I think it's fair. I really appreciate that you included the examples of Port Alberta and Eugene, Oregon, and on PRCS 13. I think that's really relevant. And at the last meeting, I did ask if there were bats on in any of these areas where there's the wildlife, and just wanted to share with the committee that I was walking the trails, the pathways west of Railway. Let's make sure I get my north and west correct tonight, not like yesterday. And I came out on the railway just north of Steveston Highway, where there's this little farm market with a garden right on the railway there, and there were bats like everywhere. And when I walked that whole section north towards Williams, I actually didn't find any area that was dark in that spot. Like, it just wasn't really worthy of lighting, in my opinion. But I think we're already set on areas 5 and 6, but that's why I'm happy that you're phasing it in 1 and 2 first, because it's definitely important there, and then we'll really see how it's functioning, see if we like it. And so yeah, I'm supportive of the recommendation, and thanks for all your patience to work on this.
Thanks. And just before I go to Councillor Hobbs, just to follow up on that point, I think it was about a month ago, I went along Railway and I noticed maybe a little bit more than usual of the tree trimming branches. There were like whole birch trees removed.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Was that part of just the annual program, or was that actually a city staff intention to brighten up the path?
Lots of birch trees going there, yeah.
Through the chair, that's been just some annual routine maintenance that we've been doing in the area.
Great, thanks. We'll go to Councillor Hobbs.
Thanks, and through the chair, I don't have any questions. I agree with Councillor Galander's previous comments too. I just want to acknowledge all the work that's been done both by committee and by staff on this. We've looked at it a few times. I think it is an important public safety issue, and I think we've struck a very reasonable balance between, like we talked about, turning it into the Vegas Strip or actually just doing things that are in the interest of public safety on a reasonable level, and I appreciate that. I think the locations that you've identified are exactly correct, so I'm very happy to support it today, but thank you for all the work you've done. I know it's been a lot.
Okay, we've got a movement of, that's option 2, and we had it seconded. I just want to make a couple comments before we call the vote. So yeah, I'm really pleased with the progress that this has taken. I like this solar option. I like the fact that we're going to phase it in. And this is a day after the United Nations declared that renewable energy, such as solar, has come to the cost equivalency of some fossil fuels on the market. So it's a significant time to make investments like this, to show true leadership. And I also think it hits another one of our council's strategic plan items that are not highlighted at the front of this report. I think it highlights the environmental leadership that we're taking, as was not necessarily the original lighting plan for this site, but I think we've moved in the right direction. So I'd like to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Third item on the agenda. Oh, there we go. Third item on the agenda is the street banner referral response. And staff are here. Would you like to add anything to your report?
Nothing further to add, and here to answer any questions.
All right, to start us off, Councillor Glanders.
Thank you, through the chair. Thanks for this. Based on the referral that was done last September, we talked about getting the load capacity of those poles. I thought we were going to contact the manufacturer and just find out if they could, in fact, be retrofitted instead of replaced. But now this report is saying that it's going to take $50,000 to analyze the poles and find out that information. So we still don't have the information except some just the visible, noting that some are in good condition and some have rust. So I'm having and if it has rust, perhaps the base will need to be replaced. Perhaps the whole pole will need to be replaced. So my issue with being able to move forward with one of the options, if we look at PRCS 23, so option 1, the construction costs are up to $600,000. So that's with the 20 poles, assuming that possibly every pole would need to be replaced would be the 600,000. But if all 20 poles were fine, then the construction cost could be as low as 40,000, 2,000 per pole. So it's really hard to be able to make a decision here without having those numbers, those exact numbers. The other thing is, well, there is a machine, so I guess I'm assuming that you would be hiring a consultant to do this whole thing, because we don't have the capacity to do it in-house. There's a machine, for example, my husband's company has one that can measure the thickness of metal, for example. So we could just look at the rusty spots, measure, and just see, is it thick enough?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Glanders, yes, the next steps would be, should council proceed with option one, we would hire a consultant and they would do that analysis. And through that process, it could confirm, again, the load capacity of these existing poles and if they are suitable for the retrofit.
Okay, so there's definitely more to come here. So if we did approve, going forward with one of the options, and then would you not come back to us after the consultant has said it's going to be 600,000? Like, I'm not comfortable approving up to that amount, because in my opinion, this is my opinion, I think there should be another option. Because, well, first of all, I'm not convinced that we need it on the west and the east side of Number 5 Road. I think that just having them on the east side of Number 5 Road where the religious institutions are makes sense to me. But I guess visually having them at the entrance on either side of Steveston and Blundell is interesting too. But just for simplicity's sake, in my opinion, why not just get the consultant to analyze which poles can be retrofitted, which ones would have to be replaced, and just put banners, and Councillor Day handed out a thing here, a unit of pole banners, $284, but I understand there's labor involved in that, and that's why our number is 2,000 per pole instead of $284. But for let's just go with the $2,000. Each pole that can be retrofitted can get a banner for $2,000, and the poles that would have to be replaced, we don't put a banner on them. Like, why replace an entire pole for so much money just to put up one banner? And then we could still have banners all the way down the east side. So I would like to see an option 6, banners on the east side only on poles that can be retrofitted. But come back to us and let us know if that's only 3 and it's going to look ridiculous, rather than approving up to $1 million to replace a bunch of poles. That's my thoughts for now.
Yes, yeah, please comment.
Through the chair to Councillor Glanders, if I'm understanding you correctly, an option would be to then analyze the entire area, which is an additional $20,000. And then we do plan to bring that back after that analysis, and as well as the recommendation is to bring forward the program and then allow you to make a decision at that time, which direction you want to go, option 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6.
Councillor Glanders, does that answer your question?
Well, I think so, but I thought that the consultation, wouldn't that just be in the 50,000 anyway that they're going to be looking at the polls? Why is it another additional 20 to look at the polls?
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Glanders, yeah, the additional cost would be to look at all the poles. So we did provide a price for the 50,000 is only under option 1, which is the 25 poles at the
okay.
the one end.
So it would be, I would recommend analyzing all of the poles on option 2. So all of the poles on the east side from Blundell all the way to Steveston, because I was leaning towards option 2 anyway, and come back to us and let us know which ones can be retrofitted. So let's say there can be 20, or I don't know how many it would be. How many was it total that the east side would have? I can't remember. 33? Oh, no, 38. So of the 38 poles on the east side, which ones can be retrofitted? And let us know that 20 of them can be retrofitted, and so then we'd have 20 banners on the east side.
Okay, great, thanks. I think that is great. We'll move on to Councillor Day, who submitted a page for all of us.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'd like that to be added to the minutes, but I'm not on the committee, so I can't do that. Question, we have banners all over the city. Did we hire consultants to come out and analyze each pole that has a banner on it?
Through the chair to Councillor Day. So some poles, such as the newer poles, were designed specifically for banners. So that's kind of indicative of the city center area where you might see some of the blue poles right out here at City Hall. Those again were specifically designed to take the load for banners. There are other poles within the city that are retrofits. We would have to review whether or not we did the analysis on those. Those have been done sort of over the last 20, 30 years.
Okay, and yeah, because okay, if a lighting pole is so derelict that it must be replaced in order to put up a 5-pound banner, clearly that's something we need engineering to get involved with. And I feel we're absolutely overcomplicating this. To spend $50,000 to $70,000 to assess the poles to see if they can handle the load bear of a banner is irrational to me. Mr. Chan, did you want to jump in here?
Yes, through the chair to Councillor Day. We have spoken to pole manufacturers for the Steveston multi-use pathway to ask them if the poles as ordered, as installed for that brand new project, would they sign off on having banners put on them? And the pole manufacturer replied no, they would not sign off on it. The concern really is the amount of wind that these banners can catch and the repetitive nature of that loading over time. The retrofit banners that Mr. Sperlin had alluded to, those were done prior to engineering really knowing where all of the banners are located within the city. So all of the ones that are on poles that were not designed for banners, we are separate from this. There's a street light pole assessment program, and those ones will be assessed under that program over the next little while.
Being a sign maker for over 40 years, if I designed and made a banner for someone that was in a windy area, I simply cut the sea lines into the banner so the wind goes right through. This is not rocket science. It's like, to me, it's like this report is designed in such a way that we go, oh, that's too much money, forget it. I talked to the people on Highway to Heaven, and they really wanted some kind of banners. And they're not looking for denominational, like Jewish or Muslim banners. They just want pretty banners like we have in the rest of the city. And to be concerned about low capacity and putting the cost of replacing a pole on the banner program is illogical. The poles are a separate entity from these very simple banner holders. The ones I found, heavy-duty construction ones, $284 a piece. I mean, if you're going to spend $1,800 to put it up, I'll do it. You know, like this takes nothing more than a truck with a bucket and put them up. And you know, if this comes to council on Monday, I'm hoping this committee will refer it back because this is illogical in my mind, and it's designed to be a cash cow for the city. I mean, to say that's going to cost $2,000 per pole minimum, and if there's any kind of issues, that price goes up to $5,000 to $10,000 a pole, or if the pole's in poor condition, it's going to cost $30,000 to pole, which would include removing the base and putting in a new pole. But as Councillor Galander's pointed out, just go out and take a look. If any one of the poles is in such poor condition that you don't think it should have a banner, move on to the next one. And let's do a simple staff assessment. I mean, if Councillor Steves was here, he'd say we spend too much money on consultants. And you know, $50,000 to $70,000 to have someone come and analyze the light poles between Blundell and Steveston Highway is just, I can't even fathom that. So what I'd like, instead of a Cadillac version of this problem, let's go for a Civic version. Let's just go very simple, go out and take a good look at each pole. If there's any sketchiness at all, move on to the next one, and let's hang up some $284 banner poles. And the reason I brought this forward in the first place is the Highway to Heaven is the part of Richmond I'm most proud of. Nowhere in the world do so many organizations work together and support one another. And I would love to see some kind of decoration to really bring attention to that part of Richmond that I think we're all proud of. So.
Thank you, Councillor Day, and I will submit this to go into the minutes as you requested. We'll go to Councillor McNulty now.
Yeah, first of all, thanks very much for the report. It's very copious. I guess when I brought this forward and talking to the committee out there, I guess I missed the point and have not not clarified what they were really seeking to start with. You've gone well beyond the call of duty, okay? The first request from them is to have one or two banners on each end of the highway to heaven saying, "Welcome to the highway to heaven." That's all they wanted. Not every group wants a banner in front of their place and wants saying, to be quite frank, we have our CMP cars parked out there along number 5 road, and I wonder why they're there. And we don't want banners to say, this is the Thang Monastery. This is the Jewish Day School. This is whatever. I think we've gone beyond. I'm very disappointed in the discussion I've just heard. That's all they want, okay? And if we want to do additional ones, I don't believe we need consultants either. Who each season analyzes our banners throughout the city where we hang poles now to see that they're still structurally sound? Do we do a check on 2 Road, for example, on the bridge? When the arm has fallen down and the banner's fallen, who does that?
So through the chair to Councilor McNulty, we do have a current program, again, as Mr. Chan had alluded to, that we will be doing assessment of our streetlight poles. And at that time we would.
So we have the in-house capacity to deal with poles and streetlights.
Through our current program, we would be hiring, again, that is hiring a consultant to do a review of our.
Well, who does it now?
Currently, we would be doing a visual.
I need you to fix the arms over on 2 Road Bridge. Okay, who's going to do that? You can hire a consultant?
So currently that would be done through our public works.
Thank you. That's the answer I want. Okay? Yeah, we do it in-house. Okay? Like I said to my colleagues, we have too many consultants. You know, we've got people that'll do it. We don't hire out. Okay? The other thing, I think this should be referred back, Mr. Chairman. I think staff should meet with the committee from the highway to heaven to sit down and ask them specifically what they want in terms of the 2 or 3 at the north end, the 1 or 2 at the south end, and that's it, and that's all we deal with, okay? It's a great report saying, basically, I thought the report was telling me we can't do it and we don't want to do it. That's all they want, and that's all we should be considering. I don't believe that they want all kinds of banners and people coming over there. So they go there to worship. There's a big difference. They don't go to show. And I think we cannot forget that. So anyhow, I'm going to refer this back to staff, or I'm going to at least propose we refer it back to staff to sit down with those folks, Balwan Sangara, somebody from, they've got a committee. There's 12 of them, okay? I've met with them numerous times and see what they want and come back and say, we want to put up 4 poles or whatever and 4 banners, 2 on each side, whatever, and we might even have that and bring that cost back. So thank you for the report. It's too elaborate from my point of view, and I think it misses the intent for this area. And I also like to find out if we do anything, I'd like to have it done in-house.
Thank you, Councilor McNulty. Before we can go on to our next 2 speakers, I'll just also highlight that the street banner theme, the list of themes is currently on, the current theme list is on page 29. Yep. That can change from year to year, and so I think what was envisioned with these banners for the Highway to Heaven would be one of the future themes that might have a banner that goes elsewhere as well. That might not just be exclusive to however many poles we end up having on the 5 road section.
I'm not thinking they even want it. Mm-hmm. So okay. Well, I think we better find out what specifically they want and are willing to accept.
Okay. So before we come back to you for referral or perhaps someone else, we'll go to Councillor Au.
Yes, I would just want to follow up with what you has said. Yeah, I agree that we don't have to decorate the whole street. You know, I think maybe a few spots would be the maximum that we need to have. And again, it may not be banners or anything, that if we can come up with some kind of agreement with the association, something that really signify the importance of this part of the city, not necessarily banners on every pole. Maybe, 5, 4, would be enough.
Thank you. I'll go to Councillor Hobbs.
Thanks, and through the chair. Yeah, lots of good comments, and I agree with lots of them. The one thing that I would like some clarification on when it comes back is, well, if the referral goes ahead, which I'll support, but is just the comments about the condition of existing poles. I thought that was interesting, but I'd like some comments that we can clearly grasp about who has the ability to sign off on the structural integrity and condition of existing poles, and kind of the differences between, I think, what you were talking about with poles that were created with certain ideas in mind, because to me, it doesn't seem complicated to put a banner on a pole, but I'm not qualified to make that assessment. So doing it in-house, I think, would be good. And I'd just like some clarity on, do we have that ability to do it in-house when it comes to signing off on the structural integrity of different poles for different reasons? And if we do, then yeah, we should do it in-house. So if we can, thanks.
Through the chair to Councillor Hobbs. So currently, the assessment will require both a structural and a geotechnical engineer, which we do not have that capacity in-house.
Okay, thank you. Going back to Councillor Galanders.
Thanks, and I mean, I also support a referral. I suggested a different referral, but I think that if we are going to go to the committee and ask them what type of banners they want or where they want them, we first need to find out, we don't first need to find out, but we could concurrently find out which poles have the ability to be retrofitted at the same time, just so when they come back and say, we would like 5 here, we'd like 5 there, we've now got the information that those first 3 and these first 3 are structurally sound, we can put them on there. And so I think that my idea of coming back to us with which poles are suitable for retrofitting is a good thing to do in concurrently with consulting with the committee on Highway to Heaven on what type of banners they want and where.
Great, thank you. So we'll see if Councillor McNulty would like to make the referral, and we'll have the inclusion of those comments.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to refer the report back to staff to sit down with the Highway to Heaven people to see which what they wanted to do in terms of their idea of having welcoming signs at each end of the of number 5 road.
And have staff concurrently look into the condition of existing poles on.
I will, as long as staff do it, but I will not support a consultant.
Okay.
Staff only.
Okay.
Okay, I'll include that in the referral then.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it. Seconded. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
If I may appreciate the discussion. As Mr. Sperlin said, the true engineering assessment for the base and the streetlight pole requires both a structural engineer and a geotechnical engineer. Staff are only able to provide a visual condition assessment. In order to get an engineer to sign off on the banner design and the brackets would require both of those qualified professionals.
Okay, so we'll have the motion as stated. And again, tying it just to our staff to do this initial visual inspection. Any further discussion on that, Councillor McNulty?
Yeah, I'd like you to go, and I'd like to also refer to staff that how they are going to check, as I brought up, all the structures that are hosting banners throughout the city now, because there are some unsafe ones. And what I heard tonight, we need a consultant. Well, you've never used a consultant for every year for the banner program. I live here. You don't. Go out and look at it. I just find this absolutely incredible from staff. Thank you.
Mayor Brody?
I think the point is valid that was just made. It's going to send this whole thing sideways to have to do this big study everywhere. So staff is going to take a look at the potential poles and also tell us about the condition elsewhere, just as best you can.
Great, and we'll call for the question on the referral motion. All those in favor? Opposed? Nobody? All right, carried. Thank you. Okay, appreciate that. Thank you. All right, we're on to item number 4, the draft Richmond Arts Strategy 2025 to 2030. And we're going to kick this one off with a 2-minute video presentation.
I promise it'll be short.
Eyes on the screen here.
I'm pleased today to present the draft Richmond Arts Strategy 2025 to 2030, which updates our current art strategy while maintaining its council-endorsed vision and guiding principles. In the context of current sector practices and trends, and in keeping with related city plans and strategies, community members, interest holders, and staff across city departments were engaged to develop this draft updated strategy. So how does this updated strategy compare to the current one? This table compares the 5 strategic directions side by side. As illustrated here, directions 1, 3, 4, and 5 remain with minor edits. However, the updated direction 2 now also includes many of the actions about inclusivity and diversity. Notably, there is now a new strategic direction 4 to build arts and cultural leadership. Upon Council's endorsement of the draft art strategy, staff will seek further feedback from interest holders and the general public. Input will be sought again from the Community Roundtable and from others via Let's Talk Richmond. Hard copies of the survey and the draft strategy, will also be available at the Cultural Centre. Any feedback received during this validation process will be assessed and used to develop the final art strategy presented to Council in the fall. Thank you for your consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, appreciate this brief presentation. So around the table, see a few questions. Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, thanks very much. Dovetail to the economic viability of Richmond and the study that we are doing. I remember a couple of years ago, which we haven't seen yet, I moved $70,000 to have an economic study on the value of arts to our community. Economic impact, how does this strategy continue that economic impact?
Through the chair to Councillor McNulty, I would say that working with across city departments, we're working on a strategic level as much as we can with economic development. We are in the early stages of that sort of higher level planning with economic development. However, we are so far building a foundation among artists and arts groups as ongoing small businesses. That's really what they are. For artists, we have through professional development and training. The city's business services, of course, supports creative industries. And of course, our film office serves that community at both the strategic and operational level. Certainly, as we develop the arts to be more in line with tourism initiatives, that's another approach towards economic vitality.
Good. Is that in the report?
To the chair, to Councillor McNulty, those elements are part of the art strategy, and they are indeed in there.
The economic viability report that was put out, requested 2 years ago.
Through the chair to Councillor McNulty, I'm not familiar with the economic vitality.
You were there when I asked for the economic viability. Linda Barnes came forward, and the arts group, and I said we're taking the money from council contingency.
Right, yes.
And that report, this would tie in nicely right now with this report. And I'm just wondering where it is, because I think some of your answers are very good towards it, but I'd like to see where that report is. I haven't seen it yet.
We'll get a staff reply.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's 2 things you may be referring to. One is I know that Katie Ferland's group is working on an economic development strategy. And then there is also an arts facilities needs assessment. Are you referring to one of those 2 documents?
No, I'm not. I'm referring to the one that we gave direction to staff to do an economic viability in the arts. And we put $70,000 for it. and it was passed unanimously. Obviously, I'd like you to go back and check the minutes because somebody hasn't done their work.
Through the
You
chair to
know,
Councillor McNulty, we can certainly go back and.
One more thing, it just continues and continues. When council gives direction, especially in Parks and Rec, nobody wants to listen. We gave $70,000 unanimously for it, and we didn't get the viability study yet. The word came out, well, we gotta hire a consultant, we're gonna do this. Check the minutes.
Through the chair to.
Have a word with the CAO on this one. I'm getting to the, as Harold Steveston, I used to say, nothing ever gets done. Sorry.
Thanks, Councillor McNulty. We'll have more
Through
from
the
staff.
chair to Councillor McNulty, certainly I will apologize if we are not aware of it. We will certainly go back and check the last minutes and referrals. We've actually just been going through referrals and don't have a record of that one, but we'll work with the clerk's office to go back, and certainly I'll reach out to you tomorrow and see if we can get more information. I do apologize.
Great, thanks. So all of committee.
Accept the apology. I just find that total incompetence. And I'll leave it at that.
Right, so if staff can ensure they provide that to all of committee and non-committee members that want that as well. All right, we've got Councillor Hobbs.
Thank you, and through the chair. One of the things I found with the art strategy and the directions you've had is there's been a lot of success. So reading the report, one question that came to mind, I didn't see anything that struck me as a real surprise or any kind of revelation in it, because it seems to be, on track in terms of the direction. So did you find any that were startling so far in the first, where we are up to the third one?
Through the chair to Councillor Hobbs, certainly this update was intended to build upon the existing strategy, which we believe is still a robust document. I would say in terms of surprises, the community roundtable discussions were extraordinary. They were really fruitful, robust. People were so passionate and really, truly committed to the arts in the community. And I would say that experience led us to adding a strategic direction about building arts and culture leadership. So I would say, and we didn't necessarily expect to change the 5 strategic directions, so that's probably the biggest surprise, if there is one.
Yeah, and I noticed that, and I'll just make a comment. It's not really a question, but I noticed the change in number 3 and number 4, and the emphasis on culture and cultural leadership. And we have a culture and harmony plan. So I think everybody understands the connection between culture and art, and yet culture is a lot broader topic than art, even though art is a broad topic on its own. I understand that. But I hope you will consider this in the spirit that it's made. I think it may be a mistake to get too deep into the cultural aspects that are connected to art, because you've had a lot of success being focused on the art world. And I think that by expanding into culture, I understand why, but I just think it might dilute your, your mission, or you might get sidetracked on things that aren't too specifically linked to what you've been doing in the past, which has been successful. And just the last comment would be, when it comes to cultural leadership, that's interesting, but and it's necessary. But what I think has been part of the success is that by the strategy from 2019 to 24, increasing awareness and participation in the arts, well, that's where the future leadership comes from, is from increasing participation. The more people you have coming in, that's where the leadership develops and gains experience and so forth. And so by focusing more on cultural leadership exclusively, I know participation's mentioned it elsewhere. So just something I thought about when I read the report, and I think broadening your focus could be good in some ways, but there could be unintended consequences to it. So something to consider. Thanks.
Thank you, committee. If I see no further discussion, then I'll look for a motion to approve the staff recommendation of the draft strategy, which will follow consultation and then come back to us in a final form. Motion, second. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. That is carried. I now have an additional item to add, so we could call this 4A. Probably numbered things wrong because originally delegation was A, but normally we have delegations as a number. So anyway, my number set is now 4A, because the last one was number 4 for me. And so 4A, we'll call it veterans banners. And I didn't make the comment earlier, but a number at the table are aware of this. And I think we'll allow Councillor Hobbs to lead off, or Councillor Hobbs, sure.
Thanks, and through the chair. Well, I know Councillor McNulty and I discussed it, and everybody received it in their mail. Yeah, and we discussed it as well. So I think it's a worthwhile thing to look at, and I don't think we need to talk about it a long time, other than to make a referral to staff to look at this in the totality of the banner issue and come back to us.
Great.
Which committee, Bill? Refer to the Arts Committee?
Okay, we'll go to Councillor McNulty. Do you want to make that comment?
Well, I would refer to art, the public art committee with the banner committee.
Yeah.
Because they got a banner committee, and whether this fits in with their goals and objectives.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
And then Councillor Galanders, you're
Very sensitive.
Oh, thank you, through the chair. Yeah, just so the public knows what we're talking about. We're talking about the suggestion by our historian Debbie Jiang, who submitted a proposal to put up commemorative banners on 3 Road by the Cento, how do you say that? Cenotaph. And yeah, I wholeheartedly support putting forward a referral, and support whatever Councillor Hobbs or Councillor McNulty put forward to the Arts Committee, to the Public Art Committee makes sense. And yeah, we should, it was a really lovely proposal that we received.
Thank you. So if I could just get it clarified then, we're referring this to the Arts Committee that is that's responsible for the banners. Okay. And to see if they, oh, sure, go ahead. Oh, wrong one. There it is.
Just for clarification, the banner program is not run through the Arts Committee. We would absolutely be happy to go to the, or is not currently run through the Arts Committee. We'd be very happy to consult with them on this referral as well, and bring a response back. But just to clarify that.
Okay. Okay. So it's being referred to staff to direct it to the appropriate committee to see about consideration for a customized veteran banner program for the city. And so that will likely not have time to come back and planned out for this November, but future years perhaps. So I'll call the question. All those in favor? Committee, thanks. All opposed, none. And we are moving on to manager's report. We have had a standing manager's report item on updates on the Kaiwa Maru and FIFA. We did get a memo on that today. So if staff have anything in addition to add to that, or if anyone has questions on. Okay. So if you have a quick summary on that then for us, thanks.
Yes, happy to answer any questions on the memo. Just a couple of brief highlights. In terms of the Kaiwa Maru, we've begun the process of engaging the shipping agent and are starting planning for engaging the community, including a community working group to plan that. As we discussed at the last meeting, we should be nail down the dates in September, and then we'll really be able to start more detailed planning around the Kaiwa Maru. In terms of FIFA, we've already had some initial conversations around sponsorship and have had one potential sponsor already interested. The host committee out of Vancouver has confirmed that the game times will be released in December 2025. So we do know the days right now, but we won't know the time of day. So we'll have to sort of maintain some flexibility in our planning. And something else that just came out recently is Destination BC has released this FIFA World Cup playbook that's designed for people in the tourism industry that are wanting to plan around FIFA. So a great resource for us as a municipality, also for restaurants, perhaps a venue like the Night Market that is interested in doing some activations and connecting with FIFA. And it outlines brand and compliance sort of guidelines, content and programs, and has a list of reference and resources. And I learned through reviewing this earlier this week that we should refer to the game as football, not soccer, when we're talking about FIFA. So, yeah.
Okay, we'll carry on to two questions from committee. So first, Councillor Hobbs first.
World Cup soccer, yeah. Oh, sorry. Hey, just, I'm not sure if you're able to respond to this, but it came up last night at a community center meeting, and they were just wondering when the update would be coming out. I know there's some work being done with the role for community centers, and I know staff had mentioned that that's being done, and I can't remember when they might hear.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Hobbs, we are planning to meet with their presidents that meet regularly in September. We'd hoped to do it in July, but they didn't have a meeting in July, so we'll meet with them in September.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks, and Councillor McNulty?
Yeah, just a quick question. Why are we soliciting, or meeting with sponsors? What is, other than what council has already passed, and I think council gave very, very clear direction of our involvement in FIFA. And I can tell you from my sources that FIFA will be coming begging to pawn off part of the cost from Vancouver to us to utilize fields, this, that, and the other thing, because they're taking a bath. They're up to $700 million now from 400, which is a premier province. It's a bloodbath. And I suggest we back off because somebody is going to wear this, and it's not going to be the city of Richmond. So I'd like to know what we're asking for sponsorship for.
Through the chair to Councillor McNulty, in the staff report as the program was presented, staff indicated that we would look for sponsors to provide budget relief. So this would not be for enhanced programming. It would be budget relief and then also potentially in-kind sponsorship.
For our community association?
For our community,
people.
for events in Richmond.
All right, so long as it's for our people.
Yeah.
Because, mark my words, it'll be $1 billion very shortly. Okay, thank you.
All right, any other managers' reports from you?
Nope.
Oh, okay, great, thank you very much. Any other manager reports for those in the room? For the committee. I just want to highlight two things before we adjourn. One is more information to come, but if you're out following social media, you might have learned yesterday that Canada's most active community is Richmond. Way to go, Richmond. And so it's official, more information to come and be shared at the council meeting on Monday, and then more on how we can spend our $100,000 prize for enhancing recreation amongst our residents. And then the second thing I just wanted to highlight is the promotion of Richmond's Pride Week, which is July 28th to August 3rd. But if you go to richmond.ca/Pride Week, there's already events available on there to learn about, to sign up for, lots of free events, and they span beyond the week. They go from July 20th to August 5th, as you can drop down the menus and find something to partake in. And then for the good of committee, we'll bring it to the final step, adjournment. All those in favor, we're adjourned. Thank you.